Now, you're known for interviewing everybody, people from all sorts of backgrounds, all sorts of opinions. You spoke to Andrew Tate when he was cancelled from pretty much everywhere, and he did get a little triggered in the interview.
Let's go to Shapiro's.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it, Ben's crap. Let me talk about Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro.
Oh, goodness. Now, you did speak to Tate when everyone was running away from him. Was that a journalistic decision or a business decision? Because it was certainly a great business decision.
Yeah, if you work with me, you're not surprised that I went. Because the way you do big things in life is you have to take some risks. And for me, I'm truly a free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist to the highest level, meaning I've had BB on the podcast, and a month later we had Nick Fuentes on. And trust me, the camp that listens to Nick Fuentes hates BB, and the camp that follows BB hates Nick Fuentes. And I don't mind. I'll talk to both of them. I just had Mehdi Hassan on a couple days ago. I think Andrew Tate has a lot of things he talks about that exposes a lot of people that are not happy what he has to say. We don't agree on everything that we talk about. I mean, he's a Muslim man today. I'm a Christian man. You know, we have certain things that we agree on, but extremely entertaining. I want to know what he has to say. And I think the world needs, I think we need to be more comfortable hearing people out and letting the market decide what direction they want to go. Because if you hide it, people want to hear it even more.
Absolutely. And one of the interesting questions you posed to Tate was around his daughters. What would happen if his daughter married someone like him, a philanderer, cheating on her with multiple women? What did you think of his answer? I've got to say, it gave me the creeps, Patrick, but what did you think of it?
Well, listen, if he gave any other answer, he's a hypocrite. So at least the answer he gave is the life he's living. Okay, you don't have to agree with it, but at least the answer he gave, and by the way, if your audience wants to know, he's kind of like, look, if he's providing, if he's taking care of you, let the man do whatever he wants to do. I'm just paraphrasing what he said, but that's kind of what the guy was talking about. I mean, look, he is telling you the way he's living his life. So you don't like it, debate it, argue it, give your own argument, but at least he's congruent and aligned.
That's a good point, but I think when it comes to your own child, that's when you should be a hypocrite if you're a womanizer. That's just the one area. Now, I would prefer a hypocrite who's got his daughter's best interest at heart than someone who's providing a consistent message. But on the question of masculinity, if we put aside Tate, do we have a crisis in masculinity in the Western world? And how do we address that? Because boys have been bashed for so long. We've got all these messages about toxic masculinity being fed into their heads as if being born male is a crime, Patrick.
Yeah, and you know what? And that's why young men today follow men like Tate. They follow men like our content or some of the younger men that are coming up. Whether you agree with them or not, they want to see an example. It's like men for the longest time had to apologize about being successful, about having money, about traveling, about seeing the world. We grew up with the life of the rich and famous, and that was okay. You know, in the 80s and 90s, you looked up to these types of people. You know, back in the days, my mother used to like a guy named Onassis. I don't know if you remember Onassis. Onassis is who Jackie Kennedy married after John F. Kennedy was assassinated. She left after he died. He was killed. She went and ended up with a guy named Onassis. Now, if you know Onassis, he was a guy that was a good-looking guy, billionaire, had the yachts, had the big houses, wore the nice clothes. He would, hang out with Churchill all the time. They were best friends at the end of his life. So we need some men like that. I think a lot of young men are a little bit confused. You know, about a month ago, we had some of the kids locally from a private school that came to 22 of them, and I was giving them a tour of the entire office. And I was asking them, who do you guys look up to? Who do you watch? Well, I used to watch Charlie Kirk. Who do you watch now? And they're kind of going through the list of their names. I'm like, interesting. Why do you like him? Well, because he says what other people don't want. Why do you like that guy? Why do you like this person? So I think the more and more you try to feed that boys are dumb, they're silly, they're this, they're that, they're weak, they're going to finally eventually say, I don't relate to this. And by the way, there's a reason why the biggest faction of young kids that are becoming conservative is young men. Young men, 14, 16, 18 years old, they're going towards faith. They're going towards God. They're going towards being conservative. They're going towards being strong men. They're going towards being, I'm the man of the household. I'm going to lead the family, and I'm not surprised by this happening.
And it's interesting because at the same time, well, certainly in Australia and elsewhere in the West, you got young women